Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. No one understands horizontal practice better than me. Muscles are the truth, fists are the truth. The side that practices horizontally is the king's way, and the side that destroys is the hegemonic way. Xian, who has traveled through the mythological world. The 5 elements and 3 realms, heaven and earth, Laozi is immortal, pushing everything horizontally. Demons, ghosts, and monsters. I once swept the ghosts and demons of Lanruo Temple and smashed the Black Mountain realm with one punch. Immortal Buddha Reincarnation. I once pushed the Jinshan Temple and tore apart the mighty heavenly dragon with my hands. Ancient Immortal. I fought all the way from South Tianmen to North Tianmen without even blinking my eyes. Who else wants to teach me how to do things? A real man, just practice horizontally. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Xiaosheng Xian, Qiantang Overlord. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiangnan Road, Qiantang County, March in Yangchun. In the alley of Dongcheng, there is a solid small household with the sound of wind and thunder roaring. Ha! Ha! A pair of stone locks are dancing like a tiger in the wind. Boom! The sound of the stone lock landing made the ground tremble slightly, indicating the strength of the way. Just listening to this movement can tell that each pair of stone locks weighs more than 100 pounds. However, such a terrifying weight only made Xian, who was practicing in the morning, slightly sweat. He briefly moved his muscles and bones, threw down the stone lock, lifted the already prepared bucket with one arm, and then poured it directly. The cool well water poured down and rushed over the sharp muscles, bringing a refreshing sensation. Refreshing. Wiping his face, he finally finished his morning exercise. Chinese, come and have a meal. Sister Su Jiaorong's gentle voice came from the kitchen. Here we go. He didn't put on clothes either, just shirtless and walked barefoot with almost perfect muscles all over his body. Su Jiaorong saw Xian come in and immediately frowned, giving her younger brother a helpless glare. Don't try to show off, be careful if you get cold. Without saying anything more, she put a bowl of rice porridge in front of Xian. Xian doesn't feel his sister nagging at all. Since his travels, he has been taken care of by his sister, who is 5 years older than him, since his infancy. Su Jiaorong is more of a mother-like relative than a sister. Both of their parents died at a young age, and even with the souls of adults from another world, Xian, who was still a baby, was unable to change their difficult situation. In other words, without Su Jiaorong, Xian, as a traveler, would probably not have been able to survive his infancy, let alone live to this day with all his might. Xian was an orphan in his previous life. He never expected to travel to another world but feel the warmth of family affection, so he cherished this feeling even more. Listening to his sister's nagging, he just took a photo of his strong chest muscles, just like the former captain of the United States, and giggled foolishly. Got it, I'll wear it after dinner. I've said I know every time, but I haven't seen you hear of it. I don't even know which scholar is like you. I only know how to practice useless skills, and I don't know how to study well, so that I can also have a scholar in the Su family. Sigh. Su Jiaorong started her daily nagging mode again, but Xian didn't have any aversion and instead joked. Hee, how can a small scholar's fame be worthy of my Su family? Sister is waiting, while younger brother will come back with a champion sooner or later. Bah, you're all bragging and even the top scorer. I heard from Nyo that you haven't been to school for a month. As she spoke, Su Jiaorong's eyebrows perked up again. I'm afraid there's a misunderstanding, sister. The master said I don't need to go to school anymore. I'll just go to Yuhang Prefecture next month to take the local examination. Really? Didn't you just pass the children's exam? Are you going to take the scholar exam? How dare my younger brother deceive my older sister? Aren't you worried about my younger brother's abilities? If there are too many, just look at what I want to do. Su Xian shook his chest muscles and said proudly. Not to mention my homework, just talk about my refined body, not to mention Qiantang County. Even the entire Yuhang prefecture has no one who can train 1,000 pounds of strength in the year of 2018. Looking at her younger brother's throbbing pectoral muscles and past actions, Su Jiarong's pretty face showed a comforting smile. She picked up a big chicken leg and placed it in her brother's bowl, her eyes becoming even gentler. That's good, that's good. Sister, sell some more handkerchiefs and make more meat for my top scorer brother to nourish his body. Su Xian sighed in his heart, but his expression remained unchanged, only nodding with a smile. The two finished breakfast in such a warm atmosphere. After his sister's dressing up, Su Xian's image has undergone a significant transformation. Like a waterfall, her long hair was simply tied up, and she was dressed in a well-cut scholar robe with a white background and black edges. She wore a pair of blue and gold soap boots, and in her hand, she held a delicate and skillful 100 moves gold painting beauty, Shandian, who was dressed up and down neatly. His muscles were already the kind of well-proportioned and smooth beauty of delicacy, paired with Su Jiarong's handmade clothes, the already handsome and delicate face was even more elegant and graceful, instantly transforming from a fierce warrior to a favored young master. The two stood outside the gate, and Su Jiarong was very satisfied with her younger brother's handsome appearance. She smiled and nodded. After finishing work, I will go home early to study, and my sister will come back tonight to make chicken soup for you to drink. Su Xian smiled and nodded. Got it, sister will come back early after selling the handkerchief. Su Jiarong gave a gentle smile and then left with a basket full of handkerchiefs embroidered with auspicious patterns. Watching his sister walk away, who still couldn't conceal her charm despite her simple attire, the smile on Su Xian's face gradually disappeared, as if speaking to herself. Recently, the world has become increasingly chaotic. Please take good care of your sister and make no mistakes. Suddenly, more than a dozen humble voices could be heard in the alleyway, where no one else was originally present. Master, rest assured, we guarantee with our lives. Su Xian nodded and turned to walk in another direction. After giving instructions on trivial matters, Su Xian leisurely crossed the streets and alleys, greeted acquaintances with a smile, and finally arrived at the most luxurious mansion near the Qiantang County Pier. This is the entrance of the worry-free meeting hall, the leader of the Qiantang County Chao Gang. And Su Xian, as a traveler who has traveled for 16 years, naturally cannot have done nothing. He is the only person in charge of the entire Jiangnan Road water rivers and lakes. Chapter 2. Infinite Enhancement, Dominating the Martial Arts World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In fact, except for Su Jiarong, everyone in Qiantang County knows to some extent that Su Xian is not simple. As for why he kept it from Su Jiarong, Su Xian naturally had his reasons and difficulties. One of them is not wanting Su Jiarong to worry. Over the years, the lives of the siblings have always been good. The reason why the handkerchiefs sewn by Su Jiarong sell well is actually that the vast majority are bought by Su Xian. This world is too complex, all I can do is make my sister simpler and happier. I'll give her the kind of world she wants to see, and I'll give her whatever she wants. In the vast blue stone martial arts arena of Wuyui, Su Xian sat in the center and murmured before opening the secret book he had just sent today. The thunder-breaking heart foot. Ah, it's another second-rate skill. Su Xian rose, but still looked through it carefully. Quickly, he finished reading the searched secret script and casually threw it aside, then closed his eyes. The system integrates the thunder-breaking heart foot. Surprisingly, his temples suddenly jumped twice, his robe also slightly bulged, and his whole body swelled up like a balloon. Ha! With one breath, the body returned to its original state. Dong! A crisp sound came. The turbid air he exhaled actually pierced through the ground with a small eye. Such strength has already exceeded the realm of martial arts recognized by ordinary people. However, Su Xian didn't even open his eyes and silently said in his heart. Open the system panel. Host. Su Xian, disposable points. 0, realm. Innate 27 layers, technique. Zhiyang Kill Ju, 127 different techniques have been integrated, evaluation. Dominating the martial arts world. As an ordinary traveler, having a system is naturally not a big surprise, otherwise he would find it difficult to control the grassy water transport gang at such an age. Since ancient times, the Chao gang has been a link between temples and the martial arts world, with 1 foot in the martial arts world and 1 foot entering the court. It can be imagined how complex and important the Chao gang is. Although it is only a county water transport gang, its status is definitely not low. In addition, with the existence of this rare helmsman in the world, the Qiantang Chao gang Wuyui can be said to be the first person under the county magistrate of Qiantang County. He, Su Xian, is the undisputed underground hegemon of Qiantang County. However, all of this was just the starting point for him. He couldn't be dissatisfied with his current situation, but he definitely couldn't achieve satisfaction. The points are gone again, it seems like we're really going to leave. It is becoming increasingly difficult to obtain the system's disposable points. At the beginning, catching a thief can give you some points, but later on, you must kill the extremely vicious Jianghu bandits or fight against evenly matched experts to obtain them. Recently, it is difficult to obtain points unless you are a top-notch expert in the martial arts world. Through years of exploration, he has a deep understanding of the usage of the system and naturally knows the way to obtain points next. Jianghu demons, unparalleled experts. Another thing. It's just demons and ghosts. Not bad, it's the demons and ghosts. He was given the name Su Xian by the dean out of bad taste in his previous life, and in this life he is still called Su Xian and the world he is currently in. Although rumors of demons and monsters are rare, they do exist. As for the possible appearance of the 2 green and white snakes in the future, as well as the Jinshan Temple Fahai, if nothing unexpected happens, they all exist. And now it can be confirmed that there is a temple outside Zhenjiang County called Jinshan Temple, with the abbot's name Fahai. What made him even more speechless was that he had a senior named Ning Kaichen. Ning Kaichen is considered his senior and a child student. He will also go to Yuhang Prefecture to take the exam next month. Moreover, the world is becoming increasingly chaotic, with the imperial court in a state of turmoil. The hearts of the people in the martial arts temples are fluctuating, and people in various places are struggling to make ends meet. This is because Qiantang County has a superior geographical location and he personally presides over it, so there has been no chaotic situation. But recently, there have also been some bandits from the rivers and lakes in Qiantang County. The situation of human degradation is already difficult to solve. It is impossible for him to continue developing in Qiantang County. If he wants to protect himself in this humanitarian chaos, if he doesn't want to be controlled by others, if he doesn't want demons or powerful people to play with him in applause, he must become the strongest. Only the strong can grasp their own destiny. He doesn't want to be trampled upon by the snake demon, let alone disturbed by the meddling monk. Of course, the snake demon is not the key is that he must be the only person who can control his own destiny. While Su Xian was silently pondering, a rapid sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside the martial arts arena. The newcomer was dressed in a strong red outfit and had an extremely muscular figure. He was a well-known hero of the Chao gang in Qiantang County, with Chenharan showing off his arms. Chenharan knelt down on one knee and said in a deep voice, "The leader has been found." Su Xian raised his eyebrows slightly and his gaze remained calm. Innate. Yes, the head of the family is indeed cunning and cunning. This person is indeed an innate realm, and my subordinate almost caught a glimpse from a distance. This person must be the peerless demon head of the government's bounty of thousands of taels. The scattered person of the evil Buddha. Chen Haoren's pupils twitched uncontrollably as he spoke the name. Obviously, there is a deep fear towards this person. Evil Buddha scattered, half Buddha and half demon. When doing good, he kills officials, releases good and relieves the people. When doing evil, he quickly sets fire to half of the county town. He is a complete madman. How can one achieve profound cultivation? They have been in the innate realm for at least 10 years and are also among the top 10 experts in the martial arts world. Innate, how many martial arts practitioners can reach this ultimate realm? Su Xian suddenly shook his head and said in disappointment. Your heart is in turmoil. People who practice martial arts are strong in willpower. What about innate thoughts? Even in the face of immortals, you should have the heart to punch them with a punch. The world is a sea of suffering, and your body is like a raft. How can you break free from the shackles of the wind and waves without breaking through, and enjoy worry-free freedom? At the end of the conversation, it was like thunder exploding in the sky. Puff. Chen Haoren suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, sweating profusely from his body. He looked at the tiny insects that had been killed by Su Xian in the blood stasis he vomited out of his eyes. He swallowed hard, and without saying a word, he knocked his head a few times. The evil Buddha is indeed terrifying. How could he be the pinnacle master who could only step into the innate realm? But with just one glance, he had already been ambushed. If it weren't for the unparalleled martial arts of the great leader, he might have died without knowing how to die. Let's go, you're only one step away from the innate world. This time, I'll give you a chance to personally pressure the formation for you. If you can kill the evil Buddha, I'll help you step into the innate world. Thank you very much, Master. Chen Haoren felt great joy in his heart, and his face was filled with gratitude. If Su Xian's words were heard by people in the martial arts world, they might laugh their teeth out, but Chen Haoren firmly believed them. There is only one reason, because this is what Su Xian said. Chapter 3. Evil Buddha scattered people, crushed every inch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wanhua Tower. In the luxurious hall on the top floor, there were birds, and swallows all over. The fragrance of delicacies, fine wine, and rouge blend together, creating a mesmerizing sound that sounds like a dream. Light gauze dances, beautiful women play the piano. A handsome middle-aged monk lay comfortably among the beauties, with his head resting on his jade legs and his mouth drinking fine wine, feeling very happy. Buddha has a good tolerance for alcohol, a woman coquettishly lay in the monk's open arms and said. Buddha is a real man, naturally he has a good tolerance for alcohol. The evil Buddha laughed in response and gently pinched the woman's face that could be broken by a blow. Of course Buddha is a real man. I really want to always be with true heroes like Buddha. The evil Buddha's eyes narrowed slightly, and he didn't know which nerve had been stirred. His gaze suddenly changed, becoming as cruel as a bloodthirsty beast. Ah! The woman let out a sudden scream, grabbing only the palm of the evil Buddha with both hands, completely unaware of where she had offended the extravagant fake monk. If a lowly person lies, then the Buddha will fulfill you. He tightly pinched the other person's face, his fingers like iron pliers turning fiercely, turning more than 2 times, as if he was about to twist the flesh off. The other women had no idea what had happened and screamed incessantly upon seeing this scene. Buddha, spare your life. The woman felt like her entire face was about to be pulled off, crying and begging for mercy. But who would have thought that the evil Buddha's smile would become even more brilliant? Cry for the Buddha, don't you want to be with him forever? Pull out your skin bag and make it into a robe over there. Fingers were still spinning, and the woman's entire face had been twisted to the point of losing its human form. Killing. No other woman had ever seen such a scene before, and her face immediately turned pale with fear. Someone had already started screaming loudly. But the scream had just started and suddenly came to an end in the next moment. The evil Buddha didn't even look and casually threw out a wine glass. Bang! Head exploded. Splash of red and white objects. Dong! The woman who shouted to kill had already fallen headless, with blood continuously flowing out, instantly staining the snow-white blanket red. The entire hall fell into a moment of silence, even the woman whose face was about to be torn off dared not speak. Shout, why don't you shout anymore? Ha ha ha, shout to the Buddha. The evil Buddha laughed wildly again. Several women in the hall have been frightened and fainted. At this moment, there was a sound of footsteps outside the house, and the door was quickly pushed open. The Madam of Wanhulu, along with several guardian turtles, was frightened and turned pale as soon as they opened the door. They thought it was because the guest had drunk too much and caused trouble, but to their surprise, they actually killed someone. The madam, who had been in battle for a long time, was stunned for a moment before suppressing her shock. Her first reaction was to give a glance to the turtle lord beside her, who immediately woke up and retreated silently. The madam said to the evil Buddha at the same time, "This gentleman, we are always lowly people, but living is not easy. You are a noble person, so there is no need to make things difficult for us lowly people." She surprisingly did not hold herself accountable, but instead had a humble attitude. What kind of person is Kexi Buddha? He looked up and down at the charming old lady, and suddenly sneered. Ha, it's interesting. Don't worry, go call someone. Buddha will come and kill one by one today, but he won't take your life. The method of procrastination was directly exposed, causing the madam to sweat profusely on her forehead. She knew that she had encountered a real demon in the martial arts world. Such an unbridled person clearly does not fear the government. Her thoughts were full of twists and turns, and she could only smile. Her heart was already cold, knowing that today's situation was troublesome. The most effective way now was to follow the rules of the martial arts world. Recalling the rumors that have been circulating in Qiantang County, she bit her red lips and said in a humble tone as much as possible. Buddha may not know that this Wanhua Tower has shares in Qiantang Wuyo Club, and we can also be considered Jianghu people. Today, there may be some misunderstandings. How about stopping here? She has spoken humbly enough. Kexi Buddha's gaze once again became dangerous, and his voice suddenly became cold. Worry-free meeting. What kind of thing? The name worry-free is not something that bandits in the martial arts world can call. Go and call the miscellaneous fish with a name, and suddenly the Buddha wants to crush his head. Yeah. Ah. As the words fell, a mournful scream rang out. A face was torn off by Xiaosheng. This is the current chaotic world. When the court is unable to deter the recklessness, human life is like a blade of grass. The madam and others are both afraid and cold. My whole body trembles uncontrollably. At this moment, the evil Buddha who bathed in blood is like a demon on earth. Just as the woman's cries were constantly shaking people's hearts, a voice suddenly sounded from downstairs. Oh, someone wants to crush my head. The sound was not loud, but it suddenly made the body of the evil Buddha stiffen, and the madness and cruelty in his eyes disappeared in an instant, replaced by unprecedented fear. Just for a moment, before the others could react, they saw the evil Buddha suddenly erupt and without hesitation rush towards the window behind them. But just as he was about to break the window and escape, the sound rang out again, still as calm and steady as ever. If you move again, I will crush you inch by inch. Chapter 4. Not only distinguishes between high and low, but also determines life and death. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The madam and others were stunned. They don't know who the owner of this voice is, but judging from the reaction of the evil Buddha, they have been saved, and those who have come are truly important figures. Because the arrogant evil Buddha just now really stopped, not even daring to move. How could it be? How could such an expert be here? Immortal disciples. They must be immortal disciples. Damn it, how could there be such a person in this small county town? Damn it, I'm dead, I'll definitely die. The evil Buddha roared incessantly in his heart. Others don't have any special feelings when they hear this voice, but he's different. From the first moment that voice sounded, his entire body's sweat and hair instantly exploded, and an extremely terrifying killing intent pressed down like an iron curtain, almost suffocating him. He has achieved the innate realm for 10 years and believes that he has reached the end of his martial arts path. Going further is the path of ascending to immortality, but this step is as difficult as reaching heaven. In the martial arts world, there are only a few hidden experts who dare to claim victory over him. He was fortunate enough to have met one, and with just one glance, he was struck by lightning, desperately fleeing hundreds of miles. That person, who has achieved innate success for a century. But he still has the courage to escape. And now, when the second sentence comes out, he doesn't even have the courage to make a single move. This person is even more terrifying than that old immortal. The situation changed rapidly, and everyone in the hall was still a bit confused, but the madam had already reacted. She finally recalled the first sentence just now. Someone wants to crush my head. Thinking of this, her eyes suddenly flashed with brilliance. Worry-free Lord. Legend has it that few people know his true identity as the top expert in Qiantang. She suddenly turned her head and was surprised again when she saw the appearance of the newcomer. How could it be him? Only the most prestigious people in Qiantang County know Su Xian's true identity, while others only know that Su Xian is gentle and elegant, known for his talent, and has a deep friendship with the Wuxia society. There are rumors that he is the intelligence of the Wuxia society. As a madam, one can only know that Su Xian is an unworthy person, but never expected that he would be the martial arts lord of Qiantang County. This kind of impact is definitely not small for her. Surprisingly staying in place for a moment. Miss, how about letting me in? Su Xian's voice remained polite and composed, with a calm and steady pace that gave people a very reassuring feeling. The madam instinctively took a step back and then saw a character that made her very afraid. Flower-armed Qianhaoren. If guessing Su Xian's identity was shocking, then seeing the god of killing Qianhaoren would be terrifying. One person, one knife, one night slay the former leader of the Chao gang, the Dragon and Tiger Society, and hundreds of people. This is the first killing god of the Yuhang Chao gang. But now, Qianhaoren, like a follower, silently follows behind the gentle scholar with great respect. Su Xian would never pay attention to the psychological activities of an old lady. He doesn't dislike people in the fireworks industry, but he doesn't really like them either. He walked leisurely into the hall, without looking behind him, and sat back. When he sat down, Qianhaoren had already placed his chair and happened to let Su Xian sit down. Everything is so natural. Without a sound, the aura is undoubtedly displayed. Su Xian leaned back slightly, propped his elbow on the armrest, gently dragging his chin with his palm, and said lightly. Turn around. Even without turning around, the evil Buddha could feel the terrifying aura of Su Xian. The behavior just now only makes ordinary people feel that Su Xian holds a high position and is imposing. But in the eyes of the evil Buddha, it was a divine dragon from the sky, and nobility was just an innate aura. The seemingly casual every move exuded the supreme divine power that could destroy the mortal world at any time. He turned around with a stiff body, and his face, which had just been extremely arrogant, turned pale. However, in this short moment, it was already covered in cold sweat. Su Xian glanced casually, making the sweat on the evil Buddha's body even more surging. With just a few glances, he lost interest and said somewhat disappointed. You have also fought face to face. If you have any grudges or grievances, let's fight in front of me. Whether you live or die, it depends on your abilities. As soon as these words were spoken, the evil Buddha's heart immediately burst into an unprecedented surprise. This is vitality. You can tell from Su Xian's demeanor that this person is extremely arrogant. Such a person will not back out if they say something in front of so many people. After seeing Su Xian finish speaking, he stopped speaking, his eyes had already moved away, and even the terrifying aura disappeared. Chenharan silently took a step forward, slightly bowing his hand to the evil Buddha, and said in a deep voice. Worry-free meeting with Chenharan, I am here to repay you. This battle is both high and low, and it will determine life and death. Since you have won Chapter 5, then die on your own. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The evil Buddha couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and recognize that Chenharan was the scumbag who had previously spied on him and was then given a little trick by him. If he had heard such words in the past, he might have laughed heartily, but now he dare not act recklessly and has returned a gift. Okay. Spit out one word and both of them start at the same time. Bang. 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 3 explosions almost simultaneously. The two stood still again. The evil Buddha seemed to have never made a move, but a hint of indescribable contempt appeared in his eyes. It's just the pinnacle of the day after tomorrow. If it weren't for that terrifying guy on the side, you could use some sinister moves to eliminate it with just one move. Chenharan's mouth was bleeding, his palms were swollen and trembling uncontrollably. He struck 3 palms, and the evil Buddha took over all of them, standing high and low. Come again. Chenharan let out a loud shout, crossed his hands and pulled on his arms, directly pulling off his sleeves, revealing his 2 striped flower arms with dragons playing in the sea. His evil energy suddenly surged. Death. The vast true energy at the peak of the day after tomorrow is only one step away from penetrating the body, but such terrifying true energy is enough to make the palm break through gold and iron. Open and close, without any tricks, it's just a punch that goes all out, sacrificing oneself to death. This blow is as fast as it can be, and as powerful as it can be. Most opponents have no time to dodge, so they can only choose a hard tackle. The next challenge is who has a harder fist and a stronger will. For experts like the evil Buddha, he can easily dodge, just turn his foot and sweep his sword across the opponent's neck, then he can strike and behead with one blow. His mind had already developed a coping strategy, and he instinctively wanted to move, but at that moment, his heart suddenly froze. Damn it, what does this mean? Su Xian's abyssal aura was once again suppressed and immediately disappeared. At this moment, the evil Buddha was unable to dodge and could only withstand this blow with force. I didn't expect such characters to go back on their word. Damn it. In this way, I can't put life and death on this person's good intentions. The evil Buddha's eyes flashed with a gleam of brilliance, and a cruel smile burst out from the corner of his mouth, as well as a punch. Boom. Air explosion. Kaka kaka. Chenharan's body suddenly retreated, his arms twisted like fried dough twists, and he was defeated by his opponent's hasty strike with all his strength. This is the gap. The onlookers on the side were horrified to see that even the shameless woman who was howling on one side stopped howling, but Su Xian remained indifferent. Chenharan stabilized his figure, spitting out blood like a spring. Despite being seriously injured, he still gritted his teeth and didn't let out a painful cry. Because there is that man watching behind him. He gritted his teeth tightly, his pupils full of blood, but even sharper. Your Excellency is already the first person in heaven to fight against me in 4 consecutive moves without falling down. It's better to settle enemies than to settle them. I don't know if there are high-level experts sitting here. Here. Shut up. The evil Buddha was about to apologize and pay some price to settle his grudges, but what he didn't expect was that Chenharan seemed to be provoked and let out a roar like a wild beast. Divide high and low, determine life and death. He said word by word, then slowly lifted his only movable left arm and managed to kill him again. Boom. Puff. Blood flows like a waterfall. Unexpectedly, Chen Haran suffered another defeat and his body was shaken out. Su Xian's expression remained calm, but no one noticed a hint of relief in his eyes. Sure enough, Chen Haran struggled to get up from the ground, his eyes becoming increasingly fierce, like a real hungry wolf. Although his arms were no longer usable, the battle was not over yet. Unless he is dead, even if he bites, he will bite his opponent to death. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. As Chen Haran approached step by step, the evil Buddha showed his sincere appreciation for the first time. This is a respectable opponent. Even if it's ridiculous, the fighting spirit is definitely worthy of respect. This is the true young man in the martial arts world. Your Excellency, why bother with this? The evil Buddha let out a long sigh of regret, as if he had taken a step forward to fulfill the other party. But just as he approached Chen Haran, his face suddenly changed. His palm instantly caught the latter's neck, and his other hand pressed against the latter's heart. The innate true qi in his palm penetrated through the body, like a venomous snake spitting out a message, and he remained silent. He never harbors any illusions. His goal has always been to seize the opportunity to take Chen Haran as a hostage and escape from this place. The situation suddenly turned downwards, and everyone was shocked at the same time. They all looked at Su Xian and heard the evil Buddha speak. Your skills are profound and unfathomable. I dare not offend you at all. That's why I came up with this plan. How about ending today's matter here? However, what was unexpected was that Su Xian never glanced at the evil Buddha, let alone had any intention of answering. He looked at the woman on the ground, covering her blood and flesh-blurred cheeks, and looked at the evil Buddha in surprise and hate, whispering softly. Hate it? What? Your Excellency. The evil Buddha instinctively erupted in anger and made a sound. Su Xian still didn't respond, just looked at the woman and continued speaking. If I avenge you, will you be willing to give your life to me? The woman finally had a response. She no longer looked at the evil Buddha who made her feel like she was living or dying. She turned her head to look at Su Xian, who was like an exiled immortal. Tears kept flowing, and blood turned down her fleshless cheeks. Bang bang bang. The forehead slammed fiercely against the ground, and blood bloomed like a flower. Please avenge me, young master. Little butterfly's life belongs to you. The evil Buddha glared fiercely at the woman named Xiaodai, his eyes like sharp blades, but his heart was filled with inexplicable fear. At this moment, Chen Haran, who was firmly restrained and on the brink of death, used his final strength to speak intermittently. Hee hee, you're already dead. Shut up. The evil Buddha tightened his palm, making Chen Haran completely speechless, but ultimately he dared not strangle him directly. At this moment, Su Xian finally had a move. He continued to move gracefully, slowly getting up from the wooden chair and nodding gently at the little butterfly. So, it's a deal. What is arrogance towards others? This is being arrogant. He actually doesn't care at all about what the evil Buddha said or did, let alone fear the evil Buddha killing his trusted general. It's not because he doesn't care, but because absolute power that can control the lives of others at will. Su Xian turned his head and finally looked at the evil Buddha, who was already feeling anxious and uneasy, with a calm expression. Since you have won, then let's die on your own. Chapter 6. Exhale and Kill Innate, there are exiled immortals in the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since you have won, then let's die on your own. This statement is so natural, as if it is natural. Everyone is stuck again. How confident a person can say such ridiculous things in such a tone. But it was such ridiculous words that none of them could laugh. As the person involved, the evil Buddha's qi and blood surged upwards, and his face turned red like a shrimp. He is indeed afraid of Su Xian, but that doesn't mean he can suffer such great humiliation. Besides, he still has hostages in his hands, and his posture has dropped to such a low level that what he has obtained is still this result. So what are you still enduring? Stop. The evil Buddha's eyes turned red and he suddenly burst out drinking. Xian once again ignored him. Move again, I'll kill this scumbag first. Speaking, with a gentle exhalation of the incredibly sharp innate true qi in his palm, it instantly broke open Qiantang's chest. With just a slight exhalation, the true qi could directly shatter his heart. In this situation, even if Su Xian had great abilities, he could never have saved someone first. However, this is just a wishful thinking. Su Xian's steps did not stagnate at all, but he finally spoke again, but the person speaking was still not the evil Buddha. He looked at Qiantang, who could hardly open his eyes, and his tone finally changed, feeling quite relieved. Although it was an ugly loss, this fearless fighting spirit is good. Haran, you didn't disappoint me. Qiantang couldn't speak, but a smile appeared on his blood-stained face. That kind of joy can be clearly felt by everyone. For the evil Buddha, this is a greater insult. He could easily crush Qiantang, but in the eyes of Qiantang and Su Xian, he seemed like a transparent person. No, he felt like a dead person. The evil Buddha has already practiced an evil path, acting recklessly and often exhibiting a state of confusion in his mind. This time, he has completely fallen into madness. The panic and anger on his face disappeared completely, and the corners of his mouth suddenly opened, revealing an incredibly crazy and cruel smile, and he suddenly shouted loudly. Ha ha ha, then let's die together. Su Xian's response was very simple. His chest bulged slightly, and he spat out an arrow of qi in his mouth. Even though he had already turned around, he never went to see the final madness of the evil Buddha again. But at this critical moment, the palm of the evil Buddha remained motionless, and his true energy could not penetrate inch by inch. The madness of the evil Buddha froze in this moment, like a wooden person, unable to move. There is only unbelievable shock in the crazy pupils. How could it be so strong? Is there really a way to breathe and kill in the world? And, it's exhaling to kill the innate. I was born with great success. Immediately, his consciousness completely disappeared. He never knew until his death that he was facing an innate 27 levels that had never been seen in the martial arts world. The madam and others had no idea what had happened, staring blankly at the motionless evil Buddha. They only saw Su Xian take a step forward and then turn around directly, while the evil Buddha was even more foolish. What the hell is going on here? In the hall, it was as quiet as death, and Su Xian walked up to Little Butterfly with his palms slightly raised. Xiaodai straightened up in confusion and instinctively placed her cheeks in her palm. However, she suddenly remembered her shameless and disgusting face, and stopped again. Does it hurt? A gentle voice entered my ears, and warm palms gently imprinted on my flesh and blood-blurred face. Little Butterfly looked up slightly, looking at Su Xian's handsome and sunny smile, and tears burst down her face once again. For some reason, despite countless grievances, she could no longer suppress her inner pain. She nodded forcefully like a child, with an expression of extreme injustice on her face. Su Xian lightly waved with his other hand, and his previously torn face was sucked into his palm with true energy. He wrapped his face in true qi and gently covered it on Little Butterfly's face. Then he held it down with his hand, and the surging innate true qi continued to nourish it. Does it still hurt? Xiaodai cried even more fiercely. She no longer felt the pain, but her feelings in the heart were extremely complicated. Are these two painful words? She decided to dedicate everything to the exiled man in front of her. Even if the other party doesn't need it. Su Xian saw that Xiaodai didn't answer and was not angry, so he spoke to himself. There will still be scars left, but it's not a big deal. Let's take it as a lesson. Whenever you see or touch it, remember what can protect you. After he finished speaking, he stood up, tidied up the wrinkles on his hem, and then walked slowly towards the door. I promised my sister to go back early today, and you will rest for one night to help you enter the innate world tomorrow." When the words fell, his figure had already disappeared. With a graceful posture, it reached the pinnacle of elegance. Ha! Everyone was stunned as they watched Su Xian leave, only to hear a long breath, but it was from Qiantang, who was restrained by the evil Buddha. When everyone turned their heads and looked around, they were suddenly startled again. La 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 la. As Qiantang moved slightly, it seemed that a basin of bean curd jelly served with sauce poured down behind the evil Buddha. The ground was covered in red and white, sticky and flowing all over. And there is a blood hole the size of a soybean appearing at the center of the evil Buddha's eyebrows. Only then did everyone realize that Su Xian had just pierced through the skull of the evil Buddha in one breath, then shattered his brain and blasted a big hole in the back of his head. Is this the strength of Lord Wuyui? Is this the gentle and refined Su Xian? Is this his confidence to remain calm and composed? Qiantang was just one step away from being an innate expert. With a slight adjustment of his breath, he had already gained some strength. He is not the kind of person in charge who values manners. He glared at the still stunned madam and cursed angrily. Damn it, don't you want me to dig out your eyeballs? Look at a bird, come and help Grandpa. The madam and others were startled and quickly rushed over to help Qiantang. Soon, a doctor came to the door to straighten the bones. After some twists and turns, Qiantang finally regained his breath and turned his head to look at the small butterfly with a strange look that left winding blood marks on his face. You will be the shopkeeper here in the future. If you have anything to do in the future, come to the entrance of the worry-free hall to find me. Compared to Su Xian, everyone was more afraid of this god-slayer, and little butterfly was even more frightened and trembled. Qiantang didn't know what he remembered, his fierce expression restrained, and he sighed. If you want to no longer be bullied, then give yourself the power to bully others. He spoke as his eyes gradually softened. That year, he was just a little beggar, but heaven had not let him go yet. His sister, who relied on each other, was taken and killed by the dragon in Tiger Hall in the past, and even he almost died at that time. Su Xian, who still looked like a child, appeared beside him like an exiled fairy and asked him. If I avenge you, will you be willing to give your life to me? From then on, his fate belonged to Su Xian, and his fate also changed. Seeking a flower, a review ticket, and a comment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A new book is not easy, with just a little data, I will add more. Seeking a flower, a review ticket, and a comment. Large amount of saved manuscripts, looking forward to explosive updates. Chapter 7. Deep love between sisters and brothers, horizontal promotion of 100 Zhangs. Seeking freshness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Milky Way is bright and the moon is bright. As soon as Su Xian, who was like an exiled fairy, returned home, he became the clever and mischievous younger brother. After dinner, the two of them sat in the small courtyard enjoying the moon and chatting together. Did it go smoothly to work at the Wheel Club today? Su Jiarong asked her younger brother about his daily itinerary every day, and although the answers she received almost never changed, she never omitted any kind of care. The big brothers from Wheel Club take care of me very much, sister, just rest assured. Su Jiarong just smiled. You are not a child anymore. Since they take care of you, you cannot take it for granted. Please invite them to your home these days. Sister found a good plan today, which is to work as a supervisor at the Huang family's cloth installation. She can earn 2 taels of silver a month and also manage a banquet well. She won't lose her younger brother's face. Listening to Su Jiarong's happy family background, Su Xian turned his head to look at his sister's squinted smiling eyes and couldn't help but burst into laughter. This is the life he wants. Sister just needs to live in simple happiness. He shoulders all the filth and freedom in the world. Being wealthy and prosperous in this increasingly chaotic era may not necessarily be happiness, but ordinary and affluent small days like these are truly worry-free. He wanted to give Su Jiaorong a very simple look. That is worry-free. What do you need, he'll give it. Compared to his sister's hard work in taking care of his growth, these are nothing. Don't trouble sister, I won't go tomorrow if I go again. Su Jiaorong was taken aback at the words, thinking that something had happened and asked anxiously. What's wrong, isn't it? Before he could finish speaking, Su Xian grabbed Su Jiaorong's slightly rough palm and gently rubbed the marks left by life on her sister's hand, comforting her. Sister, I'm having another wild idea. Tomorrow I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll use my wages to treat them to drinks. He explained and continued with some pride. In 2 days, I will be setting off. Although it may not be too far to go to Yuhang, I promised my sister that I would come back with a top scorer in the 3 yuan exam, so I had to go to Yuhang school to study for a few days in advance. Su Xian spoke lightly, but Su Jiaorong remained silent for a moment, with a hint of reluctance in her eyes. However, she was afraid her younger brother would see her, so she forced a smile and said. Well, sister will give you those 2 pairs of boots again tonight. Oh, why didn't you say so earlier, and I don't know if you have time to make a new outfit. She couldn't help but grab Su Xian's big hand and muttered with her head down. Is there anyone to accompany you with? I heard you have to walk 300 miles to Yuhang, and it's not good if you don't have someone to take care of on the way. You have never traveled far, and I don't know if you can get used to it. Yuhang Prefecture is not a small place like Qiantang. You're still young, don't rush to become the top scorer. If you go to rush for the exam, you should accumulate experience. Her voice became quieter and quieter, and suddenly she wanted to break free from her palm and stand up with a gesture. Sister, go prepare some dry food for you. Su Xian exerted a slight force and grabbed Su Jiaorong, smiling at his sister who had already turned red in the eyes. Su Jiaorong couldn't help but raise her hand and start patting her younger brother, tears falling like jade beads. Why didn't you say it earlier? How could my sister prepare in 2 days? Woo-woo. Su Xian allowed his sister to pat him and gently embraced him, his voice incredibly gentle. Don't worry, sister. The master has already explained that I will go with brother Ning, the former Tongsheng, on the official road. He is older than me, a kind scholar, and has a good relationship with me. He will definitely take care of me. Sister will wait for me at home, and younger brother will not cause trouble. I just hope sister will wait for me to return home in glory. The night is like water, and the love between siblings is deep. Farewell sorrow, full of warmth. Wuyo hui yen wu tang. Chen Haoren sat cross-legged on the ground with his 2 flower arms tightly tied. Although the realm of martial artists in the martial arts world is crude, it is also accurate. Su Xian stood in front of the other person, his voice calm. Third-rate martial artist, there is already a sense of qi in his body. A second-rate martial artist, whose true qi is like silk, can circulate qi meridians. A first-class martial artist, full of true qi. In the realm of great achievement, true qi spreads throughout the body, with infinite strength, making it difficult for swords and spears to penetrate. This is the acquired realm. Although these attempts were all very clear, Chen Haoren still listened attentively. If there is a day after tomorrow, there will be innate. What is innate? True qi can be detached from the body, controlled according to one's heart. Holding a sword, the sword's vigorous energy can shoot 3 zhang at lightning speed. Even holding grass mustard, it can also penetrate steel armor. Those who are naturally successful can have true qi detached from the body by 10 zhang, and their true qi is inexhaustible, making them enemies of 10,000 people. After all, the essence of innate and acquired qi is whether true qi can be released externally and how far it can be released. Su Xian's tone gradually became contemptuous. But this is a wrong path in martial arts. Chen Haoren's eyes were shining brightly, and he had a premonition that not only could he break through his innate abilities today, but his innate abilities must also be unique. At this moment, Su Xian's hand was like lightning, and a phantom flashed through his palm, instantly hitting Chenharan's Baihui acupoint. The vast innate true energy, like a heavenly river, suddenly poured into it. Defend the gods, use techniques, guide true qi to refine the body. The scorching true qi, like a waterfall and a sea, seemed to have no end, fiercely washing away every inch of blood and flesh in Chenharan's body. Such a tough guy couldn't help but show pain on his face and kept making muffled moans. Innate true qi, where is it used to release and kill enemies? The essence of true qi is to polish the body, and when the true qi and body merge into one, it will naturally be released freely. Bang bang. Chenharan's body constantly made a crisp sound of bones shattering, and blood spurted out from his pores at the same time. Can true qi be separated from the body by 10 zhang when innate maturity is achieved? Oh, as soon as I enter innate, I can push it horizontally by 100 zhang. Boom boom boom. As I filled my true energy, I became more and more humble, and surprisingly, thunder sounded. Ah ah ah. Chenharan let out a loud roar. Boom boom. The raging innate true qi explodes like a gunpowder barrel, directly blasting away the blue stones on the martial arts arena. 10 zhang away, Su Xian nodded slightly as he looked at Chenharan standing in the center of the shattered ruins, constantly bursting with true energy, and said calmly. It's pretty good. As soon as I'm born, I can be invincible, which doesn't waste my efforts. Chapter 8. Years of Grace, lay out for thousands of miles seeking flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chenharan only felt unprecedented pleasure. The shackles of several years were broken in one fell swoop, and the true qi in my body was as deep as the sea, and my whole body was as strong as a river. Once born, invincible. This is the feeling now. Just stand still and the exhaled true energy can crush all existence within 10 zhang into powder. If he faces the evil Buddha again, he will definitely be able to kill him with one punch. He, however, has already become a martial arts genius since he was born. Just as Chenharan was extremely proud, his heart suddenly jumped, as if his heart was tightly grasped by a big hand, making him almost faint. Boom. He didn't want to, but his true qi exploded under his feet, bouncing his body directly away. Boom boom. A deep and bottomless hole exploded at the original standing position. That's not caused by his true qi. He suddenly turned his head to look at Su Xian, who was standing in the distance making snap finger movements. His eyes were inexplicably shocked. The swelling sensation just now instantly dissipated. If it weren't for his timely response, Su Xian's gentle flick of his finger could have blown him to pieces. He was already aware that Su Xian was unbeatable, but only now did he feel the terror of Su Xian. Because even if he enters the innate world, he still cannot see Su Xian's true strength. Su Xian is like an bottomless abyss, mysterious and vast to the point of almost despair. It was not until this moment that he truly understood the shock before the death of the evil Buddha. In Su Xian's eyes, innate success is nothing but a mole ant that can be easily crushed with a slight movement. This is really terrifying. Isn't innate success the end of martial arts? Why is the gap so big? Congenital is divided into initial innate, roughly divided into small and large as the distance of true qi from the body. Above this lies the legendary path of immortals. Fairy fate is hard to find, unless it is already inherited. Ordinary people will not have the opportunity to glimpse the path. Most people are trapped in innate success, until their flesh and blood decline, their essence is depleted, and they eventually die of old age. Su Xian is different. No immortal fate. Oh, he deduced on his own and continued to cultivate until he became the strongest martial arts in history. Innate 27 layers. Each layer is a transformation of the physical body, and after the evolution of true qi to its limit, it is strengthened and promoted by the system. There is a system that combines hundreds of martial arts from the martial arts world to form the Zhiyang Kill. How can he not be strong? Seeing the shock in Qianharen's eyes, Su Xian smiled and shook his head. Come on, I'll show you what innate is. What he wants to do is not to make Qianharen afraid, nor to make him arrogant. He wants this brother who has been following him for years to know how magnificent the end of the martial arts path should be, and how magnificent the innate realm should be. Qianharen instantly understood Su Xian's intention, his body suddenly swelled, and all the red true qi condensed on his right arm, and his body burst out. With one punch, the wind and thunder howl. I offended you. Faced with a fierce punch, Su Xian remained motionless, only smiling slightly. Boom! A full blow instantly hit Su Xian's chest. The circular energy shatters the earth. Qianharen was inexplicably shocked in his eyes. How could it be? With a punch, Su Xian didn't even use his true energy and just stood quietly in place, forcefully catching it with his chest. The most terrifying thing is that not only did he not move, but also his clothes never broke. Qianharen stared blankly at Su Xian as his true qi converged. What kind of realm are you, the head of the family? Su Xian gently patted Qianharen's fist open, caressed his robe casually, and smiled. Nature is an innate realm. Qianharen's gaze had become dull. Obviously, the worldview is about to collapse. Don't embarrass yourself. The martial arts are endless. I've told you before that releasing true qi is just a small path, and the true reliance is on invincible physical body. He patted Qianharen on the shoulder. Wufu emphasizes the power of killing and attacking, but if you want to be invincible, you must first ensure that you do not die. In that case, polishing your body is the right path. If you refine your body to the point where no one can harm you, who in the world cannot kill you? Qianharen's mind was shaken and he finally understood Su Xian's martial arts skills. Invincible in the flesh, naturally. Invincible in the world. He murmured, his eyes shining brighter and brighter. Haren, you have understood. Qianharen suddenly knelt down on the ground without saying a word. He doesn't need to say any words of gratitude or loyalty. His fate belongs to Su Xian, which was already predetermined. Su Xian didn't help him either, allowing him to kowtow 3 times before taking out a handwritten secret script from his pocket. I will set off for Yuhang Prefecture tomorrow, and Qiantang County will be handed over to you. This is even the Yang Kill the Congenital chapter. Please cultivate well and don't let me down. I will definitely live up to the trust of the leader. He took the secret script with both hands and nodded heavily. He knew what Su Xian meant by Qiantang. I know better who his life truly belongs to. Whether it's the little butterfly or him, or even the countless people who have received the favor of Su Xian in the entire Qiantang industry, the meaning of everyone's life is to die for Su Jiarong at any time. With them around, Su Jiarong cannot suffer any harm. If anyone wants to harm Su Jiarong, they should be prepared to step into Qiantang and be killed by endless assassinations, or to destroy the entire Qiantang. It could be a little beggar, an old man with no strength in his hands, or a high-ranking official who constantly surrounds Su Jiarong, shielding her from any potential danger. Su Xianxiang's actions are not just about military force. And the wisdom of Shi, who has laid out thousands of miles for many years. Only in this way can he confidently walk around the world and achieve the strongest achievements, because he has already built the entire Qiantang into an iron block. Finally, it's time to hit the road. Seeking support, flowers, review tickets, please. Chapter 9. Farewell message, think before acting. Seeking freshness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Farewell Message, Threatening the World. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets, seeking rewards. Outside the Su family courtyard. Sister, don't send it off. I have made an appointment with Brother Ning to meet outside the city. You can stay at home and wait for me to come back. Su Xian, dressed up as a scholar, carrying a bamboo book basket and smiling, waved goodbye to Su Jiarong. Su Jiarong no longer had her usual nagging, just pursed her lips and smiled at Su Xian, looking very calm. However, upon closer inspection, one could see that the handkerchief in her hand was about to be rubbed to pieces. How could she be willing to let go of her close relatives who had been dependent on each other for many years? But she didn't want her sensible brother to worry. After all, this day would come sooner or later. Isn't years of hard work just to ensure that my younger brother doesn't live worse than others? She suppressed her reluctance in her heart, nodded slightly, and 1,000 words gathered in her heart, but when it came to her mouth, she only whispered a sentence as usual. Go home early. This is like going out as usual and returning home early at night. Su Xian was taken aback at the words. Ha! Then he took a long breath and the warm smile on his face disappeared. He walked up to Su Jiarong in one step and suddenly opened his arms to tightly embrace his calm sister. His handsome face was buried on her shoulder, and his voice was filled with helplessness. At most, it will only take a few months. In the blink of an eye. Why bother? I have to make it so emotional. I see my sister doesn't want me, the most beautiful man in Qiantang, to shed 2 tears. I'm afraid she's not willing to let her younger brother go. Su Jiarong suddenly felt a damp touch on her neck. I can't help it anymore. 2 lines of clear tears ripple. Every drop is reluctance, every drop is pity. She opened her mouth several times to say something, but was afraid to cry out loud, and in the end, she could only cry silently. After a while, Su Xian grabbed Su Jiarong's shoulder and took a half step back, his slightly red eyes facing Su Jiarong's beautiful eyes with unprecedented seriousness. Is it okay for sister to promise me something? Su Jiarong rarely saw Su Xian so serious. The last time in her memory was when Su Xian was 8 years old and said, Sister, I will not let you suffer any injustice in the future. This was Su Xian's first time growing up. It's not just one thing, as long as Su Xian speaks up, she can agree to anything. After all, the two depend on each other. When both parents died at a young age, what supported a little girl in taking care of her younger brother was not how strong she was, but because the sudden arrival of her younger brother was too lovable. If she is not strong, what will happen to her lovely younger brother? Brother, she is the only one who has supported her to this day. She could only nod hard and desperately. Su Xian didn't smile as usual, serious enough to almost plead. Please don't be sad, please don't worry about me, please rest assured and wait for me to come back, please. Su Jiarong immediately burst into tears, but her pretty face was adorned with a smile, nodding her head forcefully, only knowing to repeatedly say yes. Okay, sister agreed. Su Xian also smiled. He didn't say anything extra and turned around gracefully, waving his arms in the air as if bidding farewell or to make his loved one see more clearly. Until walking far away. His footsteps were not slow, and as soon as he left the alley, he flickered like a phantom towards the direction outside the city. I also want to stay here, but the world doesn't allow me to stop. If I want to protect you, I must travel all over the world. Wait for me, soon I'll be back. At that time, no matter how the world may fall, I can still make your world beautiful. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had already arrived outside the city. His temperament suddenly changed, and he was completely different from just now. At this moment, dressed as a scholar, it exudes an incredibly terrifying aura, like a founding emperor. Boom! See you, Lord! Hundreds of strong men in strong attire knelt down on the ground in Xianxia, roaring like thunder. Su Xian nodded slightly and said lightly. Get up now. Everyone obeyed and stood up in unison. If someone from the martial arts world sees such a scene, they may be shocked. More than 300 top-notch experts from the day after tomorrow gathered together, what a spectacular sight. And it's as neat as a military, so if these forces were to be released, they might lead to the fall of the entire Jiangnan road, right? But at this moment, there was no one around, and the city gate was suddenly taken over by Wu Hui. The people of the Yamen had already left. This kind of situation is simply too much to ponder. At the current scale of Worry-Free Club, with just one command, you can directly paint the land as king. Oh, the county magistrate is just the apparent ruler of Qiantang. Send the monument over. Chen Haoran immediately waved his hand and saw a dozen top-notch experts struggling to push a giant pulley cart over, carrying a black iron monument. Boom! More than 10 people removed the Xiantai steel and immediately let out a roar, causing the ground to tremble slightly. It is evident how heavy this steel is. Su Xian took a step forward and, under the horrified gaze of the crowd at Wu Hui, lightly kicked towards the Xiantai steel. Immediately, he saw the heavy Xiantai steel fly up. Boom! The Xiantai steel plunged fiercely into the ground and stood up. Su Xian's figure flashed and he leaped directly into the air, stepping on the stone tablet. Boom boom. Everyone almost stands unsteadily. The whole Qiantang mansion looked out of the city at the same time, thinking it was a blue sky and thunder explosion. At this moment, more than half of the stone tablet has been buried. Su Xian stood in front of the stone tablet, his palm quickly swiped over, pointing away at dragons and snakes. The sound of gold and stone echoed like the sound of dragons. The black iron stone powder was scattered, and several sharp characters appeared on the stone tablet. Think twice before acting. What is the purpose of this?